is far too nice out to be working inside my basement studio today, so you are joining me today on my outdoor picnic dining table. If you follow me on TikTok or Instagram, you probably saw that Creative Paper Clay sent me a bunch of their products to play with, and for me, air dry clay is the perfect outdoor medium. So we are having an outdoor air dry clay summer. Today, you saw the thumbnail, we're going to make a little ghost in a witch's hat. I'm using Creative Paper Clay today, but DOS brands would also work well for this project. Besides clay, you're going to need a vinyl or plastic surface to work on, some 3-ounce paper cups, a scrap of aluminum foil, masking tape, some way of making your clay flat. A wooden roll-in pin is best, but you could also use a bottle sprinkled with a bit of cornstarch, a knife and a spoon and or sculpting tools of your choice, a skinny paintbrush, a small dish of water, some good quality white glue, and painting supply. I'll link everything I'm using in the description so you can find it, but I like to stay focused on making, not buying here. So besides the clay, you can pretty much swap out whatever I'm using to whatever supplies you have access to. Before I even open my clay, I'm starting this project by making a template. I'm planning on using one of these little 3-ounce paper cups as a support inside my clay. So I'm gently tearing one of them apart at the seams so that I can trace around it in my sketchbook. If you want to skip the template development step, I have, of course, hooked you up with a copy of the template I'm using. It's free on my website and cheap on my Patreon. I don't care whether you take it for free or buy it for cheap, I really just want you to give it a go. If, however, you want to make your own template, flatten out whichever paper cup you're using, trace around it, and draw a big wedge shape around the tracing. You want to make sure your cup fits inside the wedge with a bit of extra space at the corners. From there, you're going to extend out the curve that was the lip of your cup to the 2 arms of the wedge. Now we can go ahead and cut out this shape and set it to the side while you prep your form. I'm grabbing another intact paper cup. You might want to double them up to make it a little bit sturdier. I'm making a little dome out of aluminum foil that's about the same size as the base of the cup. A good tip is to squish and press the foil against the table to smooth it out. Get some masking tape and stick this little dome to the bottom of the cup. I recommend going super long with the tape so you can go over the top of the foil and all the way down the walls of the cup and then tuck the ends of the tape inside the lip. Go ahead and make one of these forms for each ghost you'd like to make. I made 3 ghosts and it took about 2/3 of my pack of clay. We'll set the form aside with the template and now we can prep our clay. I'm working on one of the plastic mats you see me use all the time. I got this one at Dollar Tree, but I've put a link to something similar in the description. I do recommend a firm plastic work surface for this project. You don't want whatever you're working on to wrinkle up on you, and the plastic will not absorb the moisture out of the clay while you're trying to work with it. When you take your clay out of the package, give it a bit of a knead to soften it up, then press it out into a pancake on the placemat. From there, I'm using this wooden pasta roller to roll this out into a sheet of about a 1/2 centimeter, 1/4 inch thick. As you're rolling, stop and flip the clay over every few strokes. Also, rotate it 90 degrees. This will help you to get a nice even slab without it sticking to the roller or the placemat. Now we can use our template. I'm placing it on the clay and cutting around with a paring knife. This is a craft dedicated knife I got from Dollar Tree. Make sure when you pull up the scraps, you ball them back together, sprinkle them with a bit of water, and immediately wrap them back up in a Ziploc bag or something. Now I'm gently peeling off the paper and I'm going to use my thumb to squish down the right side of the wedge shape. I'm going back in with my knife and scratching the surface with the tip. Now I'm peeling up the slab, flipping it over, and again repeating the squishing and scratching process down the right side of the wedge. Now we're going to form this flat wedge into a cone. I'm using a good quality white glue on the edges, and while supporting the shape from the inside with my fingers, I'm using the side of my knife to compress and smooth the seam. Once I've got the seam stuck together, I'll gently slide my paper cup and foil form inside. The goal here is to have the form support the clay, but you want to try not to get the clay stuck to the form. Now I can continue to refine that seam. I'm using the back of the spoon to smooth it out. You can also use a slightly damp finger, but you want to use water really sparingly. I see so many people online using so much water on their clay. This is not the way to do it. Adding too much water makes the clay feel smoother because you're creating a whole bunch of muddy lubricant that is letting your fingers slip slide all over the surface. But you're also weakening the clay. The excess water can make the clay really soft and harder to build with, and all that excess water on the surface can lead to cracking as your project dries. So try to have the mindset that you want to use as little water as possible in the smoothing process. Now that the seam is all smoothed out, I'm giving the top of the hat a bit of a curl. I'm using the back of my knife to press an X into the top of the cone. Then I'm using a tiny bit of water to smooth down the knife marks a bit and encourage the clay to fold over. I'll repeat that a little bit farther down until I have the peak of a slouchy little witch hat. Now I need to roll out another small slab of clay to make the brim of the hat. I'm using some cookie cutters to cut out this donut shape. Don't worry, I've included this on the template, and it's just as easy to cut this out with your knife. Once you've got the brim cut out, place some white glue on the inside of that donut and gently slide it onto the peak of the ghost's hat. Roll out a long snake of clay and wrap it around like so, and blend that into the brim and the peak. Or don't blend it and just leave it. That looks good too. I'm also smoothing out the cut edge of the brim a bit and giving the edges a pinch to make them look a little bit more like a fabric hat and not a freshly sliced bit of clay. Now we want to flare out the base of the ghost so its sheet looks a little more flowy and natural. You might have to pull out your form for a sec to do this. In any case, this is a good point to make sure your form isn't stuck inside your ghost. If it has gotten stuck a bit, try giving the cup a twist as you pull out. That should help. Now here is a time you want to use water. We're going to get our fingers a little bit wet and gently pinch and pull out the edge of the ghost. The water will help you stretch out the edge and create these little ruffles. Finally, you can put your ghost back on the form and use the end of the paintbrush to poke in some eye holes. I'm wiggling the brush up and down to give the holes that oval, ghosty look. After you make the eyes, double check that the form isn't stuck again, and then set the project in the shade to dry. After about an hour or two, pull out the form and let the ghost finish drying without the form inside. Make sure you bring your ghost inside to dry for 1 or 2 days. Now that my ghost is fully dry, I'm using a paper nail file to smooth out any lumps and bumps I don't like. Remember, always protect your lungs when sanding and wipe up loose dust on both your work surface and the project with a damp cloth before you move on to painting. Speaking of paint, I'm using some black acrylic to paint the witch hat. I love how this clay just absorbs the paint. A lot of the time you can get away with just 1 coat. Now, you can leave your ghost like this, but I want my ghost to look like it's wearing one of those vintage floral bed sheets. I think watercolors are perfect for achieving this look. This is the set of paint I use. For being a really affordable student set, it has performed very well for me. I'm going in with some yellow and putting some random dots around. These will be the centers of my flowers. When those are dry, I'm going in with orange to make the petals. Nothing too fussy here. Finally, I'm adding in a bit of light green with these leaves. Keep it simple. This is a ghost, and they're supposed to be really old bed sheets. Now here it is all painted. You could put a clear coat on this if you want. I like how it looks just like this. I made 2 more for a little trio of witch ghosts, and then I picked up these battery-operated votive candles from the dollar store, and they fit quite nicely inside. And here they are all lit up. Please give this video a like if you think I did a good job. Personally, I love them. They're so stinking cute, and this vintage bedsheet look is exactly what I was going for. Subscribe for more kick-ass art on a cheap-ass budget. I hope you give this project a go. If you do, share your pics with me. It would make my freaking day. I'm on all the socials as @JaneSawyerMakes. The website again to get that template for this and lots of other fun free projects is JaneSawyerMakes.com. Don't be afraid to craft outside this summer. Go make an air dry clay ghost, and I'll see you on the next one.